you're an economist. How do you see the situation as far as the pattern, as far as the global markets are concerned, the way that they've been hit with this crisis, the way that they have dealt with it? Of course, the position that they're in is, unfortunately, we're not in that same position. We don't have those kind of resources. But can you tell us a little about how the global markets are functioning at this time? What's the kind of trend? What is it likely to be in the near future, considering the coronavirus?
Thank you. Right now, the S&P is up 0.3%, Dow is up 0.6%, Nasdaq is up 1.6%, crude oil is up 17%, gold is up 0.2%, silver is up 3%, the FTSE was here somewhere. So right now, if the markets are up, it's because there was a lot of negativity to begin with. Now, having said that, we have to bear something in mind, that the Western markets have been hit very badly, and with more than 20%, 25% wiped off in value. We're also facing issues, but we have a different market mechanism. It's very different. Right now in America, they've lost more than I think $11.7 trillion. When Trump came to power, he built up some value in the stock market. All of that is gone. So we have to sometimes compare apples with apples, and we cannot compare apples with oranges. They have a far bigger hit, much more than we are actually analyzing. I'd like to focus on Pakistan, of course, but they do have certain resources which can help them, but they do have far bigger challenges. The pandemic situation in Pakistan, it's there, but it's much less than many other countries. I won't get into that debate. When it comes to the Pakistani markets, first of all, when you have a contagion situation...
Let's not, I mean, I don't want to get into that debate, but Faheem Sardar, we were earlier also talking about before, going on air, you were comparing this as far as the effect is concerned to the dengue outbreak.
Yeah.
What's your take? Do you think that...
Paradoxically, for me, it was very interesting because the dengue outbreak in Pakistan was actually in my books, and I'm sure many doctors and virologists will back me up. It was pandemic. Yet we didn't behave the way we are behaving right now. And dengue was... Because
perhaps it wasn't one of, it didn't need self-isolation. It didn't,
actually,
by its very nature. I don't think that if you're...
No, it did. It required very serious quarantines. It required absolutely no physical contact, very similar to what we're talking about. The only difference was this was happening in Pakistan. This was not happening in any other country.
Right.
So that's why we sometimes we tend to suffer from emotional contagion as well, because we tend to follow what other people are saying. This is a pandemic situation in many countries, in Europe, in America, in China, and probably in Pakistan as well, but it's not that bad right now. In my humble opinion, because I'm not a virologist, but when I compare dengue with corona, it's very strange, because in dengue it was very lethal, but there was no panic, because there was no panic being espoused. But here, it is apparently less lethal, but there is so much panic, and everything is going haywire because the world is going haywire. So, I mean, it's something serious.
So a lot of it, you're saying that, not only locally, not only, in Pakistan, the effect, as far as, like you're saying, the panic is more relatable or related to what's happening around the world at this time.
It's like an echo. It's like a very strong echo.
But what about places like Italy, where they didn't perhaps take it as seriously as they should have, and now it's had a multiplier effect as far as the deaths are concerned, the cases that people affected are concerned.
We have to bear in mind that there must be some lapse somewhere in some of the developed countries, that it's spreading like wildfire over there. It's spreading like wildfire. So at the end of the day, any kind of problematic thing will have an economic effect. That's why you see their markets weak, you see trade slowing down, and we do see, for example, if China today was celebrating with lights on in Wuhan with signs and posts and everything that we have won, that means they have turned the tide, because they were prepared for something. and even they took time. It wasn't that easy. If you're too prepared for something, that means you know what's going to happen. So that's not a problem. This was a black swan event, which we use in finance as well. This was a black swan event which has had a huge financial impact.
But a lot of conspiracy theories are also going around related to the virus. And financially speaking, we were earlier also talking about it. What's your take on that? Who stands to benefit from something like this where the whole world is suffering?
Well, to be Machiavellian about it, anybody who buys right now is going to win. Right now, prices across the earth are absolutely dirt cheap. You take any stock right now, you take any company right now, you take any commodity right now, things are cheap. And to make it more interesting, oil is cheap. So if I don't think there's a conspiracy theory, it's an opportunity for those who are going to buy, who are buying right now. They are going to, in financial terms, make a lot of money. Because these prices, you will not see these prices 6 months, 1 year down the road. Things are going to go snap back to the normal situation.
So what about locally speaking? What kind of impact do you expect in Pakistan in the in the very near future? Let's talk about that.
I think it's going to accelerate in the interim, and then it's going to start decelerating the negativity. Because like a virus, I mean, where did we get that Facebook term, my post went viral? It was from a virus. So viruses spread and then they die off eventually. In Pakistan, I think that pattern is going to be no different. There will be an increase in cases, possible cases, treatments, so on and so forth. You will have further slowdown in the economy, which will take our GDP, I think, down to 2.2%. That's what we've estimated. And then things will start to normalize in, I think, 3 to 4 months' time.
Right. And as far as the markets are concerned, as far as financially, you think that locally speaking, prices, we talk about hoarding also. Do you think that considering the kind of panic that may happen, of course, the government is doing all it can to get the right information out there to prevent that kind of panic. But do you expect the local prices to go up?
They already have gone up because there has been a lot of ceteris paribus in economics. Ceteris paribus, demand and supply will only function properly when it's ceteris paribus, which means all other things remaining equal. Right now, all other things are not remaining equal. Hence, the supply construct and the demand construct have sort of shifted terribly. One final point from my side: oil came down to almost half its price. So that was a boon.
So that's a good move. I mean, that should be very beneficial for us in Pakistan.
So we're going to be saving a lot of money. So why prices are going up? Because the demand-supply construct is not following ceteris paribus. There has been an unhealthy shift, something unnatural, and anything that is unnatural snaps back to the natural state in due course.
Faheem sir, what are some of the measures you feel, from your economy background, you feel that we can take at this time to prevent the kind of panic that may ensue, and also to perhaps at this time contain the situation rather than like Jalil Saab is saying, like Shafiq Saab is saying, rather than it increasing, and rather than the debt, unfortunately the people affected by it increasing also.
I think at multiple levels, let's start from the individual. One has to be a little more careful, one has to keep a distance, one has to be slightly less gregarious physically or whatever. In a group, we need to be a little more cautious and a little more sensitive to the fact that this is a serious matter. I'll repeat myself, we've been through it before, but we didn't really care. It was the dengue pandemic within Pakistan. Had it been in, let's say, UAE or America, we would have reacted regarding dengue in a worse way than we have reacted to corona. I stand by what I say. So one thing at a mass scale that must be avoided is noise and panic. Panic is not going to solve any problem. It never has, never will, and it has to be avoided. However, a healthy sensitization must constantly be done. For example, in China, they're using drones. In, I think, Italy and France, they're using drones with audio capacities to inform their citizens. So I'm not, I'm just giving an example that everyone is trying to talk to their people. Our government is trying to talk to us as well. We need to pay attention. And you know, let's be fair, let's give ourselves a pat on the back. We are doing something right. We are doing something right, that there is some kind of semblance of control. There are issues. You see, we always point out the worst thing that we can find with a microscope or with a magnifying glass. At the end of the day, if panic breaks loose, I assure you, and I've seen it in finance, I've seen it in markets, I've seen it again and again, panic is more dangerous than the virus. Panic must not break
But
out.
how do it, like, I mean, the word that you used, I think, is a really accurate one when you said healthy sensitization. How do we go about healthy sensitization without creating the panic?
Sure.
But at the same time, you know, like, you know, letting people know so that they can actually take it seriously, so that, you know, we can prevent them from this becoming, the numbers increasing, so to speak.
I'm sure the government is taking care of that, but what I would like to offer is, there's one word called balance. Now, what do I mean by that? If the world is showing, let's say, 300,000 people have been affected worldwide. Okay, we like to quote these numbers very quickly, but then let's also quote the numbers of people who have been basically cured.
Yes.
That's
and
a
China,
balance.
we can look at the
That's
kind
the
of
balance.
Right.
When we talk about deaths, we have to create a balance. When we talk about healthy I'm talking about sensitization, we have to tell people, okay, look, be careful, but just don't start running here and there unnecessarily. In America, they're buying automatic weapons. They're going to use them. Nothing like that is happening in Pakistan, and inshallah, we never will do anything like that. So I don't even want to quote that country. But what I'm trying to say is that healthy sensitization is based on balance. There is a problem, but there's also a solution. Part of the solution is related to yourself. Part of the solution is related to a group of people. Now, that's all that matters. If there is balance, we can get through this problem easily. The moment, now let's take a converse view. Let's just flip this on its head. Let's let panic break loose. Let's see what happens. I'm telling you, the coronavirus will be nothing. It will be eclipsed by the panic that you will see throughout society. And you are seeing the panic set in the West. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that when we try to establish a balance. In order to avoid panic, one has to talk about facts. One has to bring up
the right information has to get there.
And all the sides of, not just one-sided facts that so many people have been infected, so many people have died. By the way, the lethality of coronavirus is there, but it's far lower than many other viruses. At the same time, we must encourage people to look at the fact that if you get infected, there is a high probability of you
getting cured.
Now, that changes the whole dynamic. At the same time, I mean, I'm not saying in any way that it's not a problem. It is a problem, but when I start to see people panic, because I've spent my whole career.
That whole, you know, the way that people are, the way that we say it, it's either there is no cure, or, you know, it's curable. So more of, I think, the fact that there is no cure is going out, rather than, you know, the fact that it is curable, and a large number of people who have been, you know, affected.
I'll give a totally off-tangent example. This is almost like a psychological experiment. Keep saying negative things, and you will get negative results. Start to just, I'm not saying say positive things. I'm just saying talk of all the facts. Be realistic. Talk of all the facts, and that is where panic must never be allowed.
Right. I'm going to go to. It's really important at this time. I think 2 or 3 terms that we used, I think, really nail it as far as healthy sensitization is concerned. I think that media needs to play its part, of course, but every individual needs to play its part also as far as healthy sensitization without creating panic is concerned. We talked about how important it is not to panic at this time, but at the same time, we should not underestimate the kind of crisis that this may, you know, it may escalate at this time. even at this time, as far as numbers are concerned. Of course, the right kind of information needs to go out, and when you're actually forwarding a message, you're actually forwarding some information on social media, I think it's very important to check whether the kind of information that you're giving to others is in fact accurate or not.